Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavadi Naishtigi. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, text 22. I'm sorry, chapter 22, text 30. Indriyair Vishaya Krishtay Akshiptam Dhyayatam Manaha Chetanam Harate Buddhe Sthambastoyam Ivakradat. Once more, can we chant that? Please repeat after me, line by line. Indriyair Vishaya Krishtay Akshiptam Dhyayatam Manaha Chetanam Harate Buddhe Sambastoyam Ivakradat. Indriyehi, by the senses. Vishaya, the sense objects. Akrishtayehi, being attracted. Akshiptam, agitated. Dhyayatam, always thinking of. Manaha, mind. Chetanam, consciousness. Harate, becomes lost. Buddhe, of intelligence. Stambha, big straws. Toyam, water. Iva, like. Hradat, from the lake. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: when one's mind and senses are attracted to sense objects for enjoyment, the mind becomes agitated. As a result of continually thinking of sense objects, one's real consciousness almost becomes lost. Like the water in a lake that is gradually sucked up by the big grass straws on its bank. Purport: in this verse, it is very nicely explained how our original Krishna consciousness becomes polluted and we gradually become almost completely forgetful of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. In the previous verse, it is recommended that we should always keep in touch with the devotional service of the Lord, so that the blazing fire of devotional service can gradually burn into ashes material desires and we can become liberated from the repetition of birth and death. This is also how we can indirectly keep our staunch faith in the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When the mind is allowed to think of sense gratification continuously, it becomes a cause of our material bondage. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. I will read that again. If our mind is simply filled with sense gratification, even though we want Krishna consciousness, by continuous practice, we cannot forget the subject matter of sense gratification. If one takes up the sannyasa order of life but is not able to control the mind, he will think of objects of sense gratification, namely family, society, expensive house, etc. Even though he goes to the Himalayas or the forest, his mind will continue thinking of the objects of sense gratification. In this way, gradually one's intelligence will be affected. When intelligence is affected, one loses his original taste for Krishna consciousness. The example given here is very appropriate. If a big lake is covered all around by long kusha grass, just like columns, the water dry up. Similarly, when the big columns of material desire increase, the clear water of Krishna consciousness is dried up. Therefore, these columns of kusha grass should be cut down or thrown away from the very beginning. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructed that if from the very beginning we do not take care of unwanted grass in the paddy fields, the fertilizing agents or water will be used by them and the paddy plants will dry up. The material desire for sense enjoyment is the cause of a fall down in this material world. Thus, we suffer the threefold miseries and continuous birth, death, old age, and disease. However, if we turn our desire towards the transcendental loving service of the Lord, our desires become purified. We cannot kill desires. We have to purify them of different designations. If we constantly think of being a member of a particular nation, society, or family and continuously think about them, we become very strongly entangled in the conditioned life of birth and death. But if our desires are applied to the service of the Lord, they become purified. And thus we become immediately freed from material contamination. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnanaatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guruho Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitamatam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Dinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Very wonderful purport that Prabhupada has given to the shloka, wherein it is mentioned how our Krishna consciousness can imperceptibly be drained away, how our resolution can be diluted, how we can be emptied and feel dry. Even if you're so-called practicing Krishna consciousness, very nicely explained. This is a common question that practicing devotees have. Sadhakas have this question. And the answer given here is that it is being drained away somewhere imperceptibly because of our attachment to sense gratification. That is a very important point to note. In the Bhagavatam, there is another shloka. I'm trying to dredge my memory. It says that gradually, like in a pot, a mud pot, you'll find in summer season, everybody's having a mud pot and they put water in it and it becomes cool. You know what is really happening in that, as per science? All the water is going out to the small pores because the mud pot obviously is not impervious. So very small holes here and there. These are natural. It sucks water, it stays in those holes like a capillary, this thing. And the air outside actually starts evaporating that water from those edges and outside of the pot. And because of that, there is a temperature fall. And the whole thing gets cooled. The water inside gets really cooled. It's very correctly cooled, just enough to drink cool water. Not too cold, but just enough cooling water. I know in Coimbatore, we used to drink that mud pot water, Sirwani water, very sweet and cool. It was a very delectable experience. Rasoham apsu kaunteya, we used to taste it just then. Krishna is a taste in the water. But what's happening is sometimes there is an unbaked, not properly baked pot. And there are too many holes in it. And you can see when you put water in that, it'll actually leak out quite a bit from so many holes in it, in the pot. It'll all leak out and it'll actually fall out very imperceptibly. Small things will drain out and the whole pool of water underneath. Then they will reject that pot and they say, oh, this pot is not baked properly. It can't hold water. But the other pot that is baked properly actually holds the water, but exposes it to the air outside and gets it cooled. It's a very interesting technology, natural technology. So what is mentioned here is, if you have material desires, which you're unable to get rid of, some of them are very subtle desires on the level of the false ego, on the level of the intelligence, on the level of the mind, and the level of the body. There are desires. I want to enjoy gross sense gratification. I want to enjoy name, power, fame on the level of the false ego. I want respect, etc. And then on the level of the intelligence, I want to football around ideas and speculate on philosophical conclusions. And it's so wonderful. I can write a theory on this. I can write an explanation for this. I can give a better explanation for this. It's an intellectual field you like to play in. Or mind, sankalpa, vikalpa, different thoughts and playing around with it. With senses are giving you those ideas and sense gratificatory thoughts and all that. Then on the level of the body, directly engaging in gratification through using your senses. So this is what is happening. At all these levels, it's very difficult to fully stop sense gratification for a conditioned soul. But as long as it doesn't fully stop, there will be leakage. And if the leakage is sometimes too much, then you're not able to withstand, you're not able to keep up your Krishna consciousness. Because if it is not too much, then you can quickly pull back and you can reinstate yourself. But if it's too much and it is draining you off, then gradually you become dry. Gradually, you'll not even know. It may take many years for you to understand that, oh, it's not really as I thought. It's because somewhere imperceptibly we're draining out our consciousness on gratification. So this is a very powerful statement and a very wonderful, vivid description given by Prabhupada about kusha grass on the bank of the stream and how that sucks columns of water into and doesn't allow the plant to actually grow or the stream to actually retain the water. So we should be carefully understanding this example. Maya is very, very subtle. Means if we are situated on a gross platform of sense gratification, it's easy for Maya to tackle us. We may think that, no, that's over with me. And there are subtle platforms. And those subtle platforms also we become entangled in. We have to be very intelligent. This is the meaning of Krishna saying, Dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. I will give you the intelligence to understand this and come out of it. provided Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam. You are Satata Yuktanam, always connected in Krishna consciousness. Bhajatam Priti Purvakam, with Priti, with love, you're serving me. So these are all the elements that I mentioned. Priti Purvakam, Satata Yuktanam. I think these are key words which Prabhupada is also talking about in the purport. We should always remain connected in Krishna consciousness. That is why we should be engaged in service according to our propensity. We should not avoid service. Sometimes service becomes an austerity, but we should take up that austerity. Because austerity means what? Austerity means the mind is telling you don't, and it's pulling you towards sense gratification. And to keep away from that and engage in sense gratification is actually austerity. Engage in devotional service is actually austerity of the mind. Manaprasadat saumyatvam stairyam atma vinigraha bhava samshuddhir iti etad tapo manasam uchyate. Did I get that right? I think so. Manaprasadat saumyatyam. Being satisfied with what you have materially and being detached. Bhava samshuddhir iti etad. Always interested in purifying your existence. This will happen if you have intelligence nicely honed together under the instruction of Krishna, instruction of Acharya, instruction of the Guru, instruction of the Vaishnavas, and you're thinking about it. A very interested, serious devotee will always wonder and examine how he is working, how his mind is working. Why did he do this? Why did he think like this? What made him think this? What is the desire underlying? And he sort of finds out this is the weed, and he pulls out the weed. And it's painful to do that. Krishna consciousness is very easy, actually, externally. The internal things sometimes we don't want to very much attend to. Because of that, the external thing also gets affected over a period of time. Over a period of time. So we should do a lot of homework inside. It's not just all the external performance. You know, spiritual life should never become a ritual alone without spirit. Spirit and ritual. Spiritual means it should have that spirit, that personal touch, that attention from you. Otherwise, it will become a ritual. It becomes a ritual and you get helplessly entangled. But when you're spiritually aware and you're watching yourself performing and the thinking and the feeling and the discrimination, everything that's coming, how it is being utilized, how my mind is being utilized by me, how my intelligence is being utilized by me. If you keep watching with the focus, there are many things that take you out of focus because of the force of experience of sense gratification we have from many lifetimes. We can get very easily diverted. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, just like a boat can get washed off in the waters, right? And then he says, just like a lamp and a steady flame can get disturbed by the wind. He gives these examples. And what other example he gives? He says that kurmanganiva, just like a tortoise, a turtle, will withdraw its limbs away and completely cut itself off from external world. So a devotee, Prabhupada is saying it doesn't cut himself off, his senses away and his mind away. He just rechannelizes it and uses it only in the service of Krishna and not in the service of Maya for sense gratification. This requires perspicacity, or what shall I say, sharp focus. You can't be looking at anything and everything else. You should look at the target. What is to be focused at is that you as spirit soul should be engaged in Krishna consciousness at all layers on the covering also. That is very important to watch. In the Mahabharata, you have this instance of Dronacharya teaching the Kauravas and the Pandavas young how to shoot focus. If you're a warrior, if you're a Kshatriya, how you should focus. And he puts up a wooden, I think, parrot or bird in the tree. And he tells each of them, you have to shoot that parrot in the tree, with all the green and everything together. And the parrot also plays there. And so he keeps them all down and says, what do you see? So amazingly, different people say different things. Some of the Kauravas boys, they said, I see the sky, I see the green leaves, he said, step out. You're not seeing the target. And somebody else said, I see the green tree and the parrot. What else do you see? I see that very clearly. He said, step out. And like that, progressively, each one saw different things. And then finally came Arjuna. He said, what do you see? Aim your arrow. What do you see? I see the eye of the parrot. What else do you see? I see nothing but the eye of the parrot. Are you sure? Yes, I see the eye of the parrot. Shoot, he said. Boom, he shot on the eye. Bullseye, you say. Parrot's eye. He got it. Why? I can't see anything else. I can see only my target. I can see only what I'm supposed to hit. This is a very good example of focus. Every day we have many things to do and many things occupy our mind. And I'm sure that all of you somehow wondering, how is it possible to simply focus only on Krishna consciousness? We have needs of the body, mind, and everything. True. No doubt about it. Arjuna did not say that I don't see the parrot and I don't see the thing. He has first seen everything and then slowly he has focused on my eye of the parrot. That's what he has done. It's not that he's not seeing everything. He knows about everything else. But right now I have to be focused on the eye because I'm shooting. I must get the eye. Same way, we do have many things to do, no doubt. We have to pass tour, we have to take bath, we have to dress, we have to eat, we have to keep clean, we have to attend to guests, we have to be socially relevant, and we have to meet people, I have to look after my children, I have to earn money, I have to do millions of things we have to do. I mean, how can you say that I can focus only on this like a parrot's eye? It's impossible. True, you're 100% correct. It's not that you should not see, but you should see other things with the target in mind. I am supposed to focus on the eye, but I take a look at everything else and how things are arranged. But I'll get back to the focus on the eye. That's what is important to me. Unless I know other things, I cannot focus on the eye. It's not that Arjuna is saying, I never saw anything else, I saw only the eye. Of course, I'm able to see the bow and the arrow. Of course, I am pulling the bow up, all that, and all the time I'm not watching at the eye. Then I focus on the eye. Similarly, all of us should have the focus. I want to be a devotee. I should develop love for Krishna. Therefore, when I sit down to chant, I should focus on the holy name. When I sit down or stand in front of the deities and take darshan, I should focus on my central point, my locus, and I should offer prayers to the Lord. And that should always remain in my mind. You see, I'm always thinking about the central focus of Krishna. And even when I'm performing other activities, I am involved in meditating on the Supreme Lord Krishna's lotus feet. That example is given very nicely by Lord Chaitanya. Paravyasinini nari vyagrapi griha karmashu tat swadayanti antara navasangara sayanam. I often quote this. It's a very beautiful example. Lord Chaitanya's example in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, Para Vyasinini Nari Vyagrapi Griha Karmashu. Nari, the female Grihastini, is having an affair with another man. And he's a very interesting man. Exciting experience she's having. You know, some point of time, people get bored with their spouse and their kids and the household jobs and that and this and everything. Looking for a change, you're stuck in that rut. And I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying that a practical situation, somewhere somebody gets a little solace, a little attention, and something diverting. So this lady got involved like that, somebody. And she was always thinking how nice he is, how nice man he is. He talks so nicely. He's so industrious. He's so intelligent. He's like this. And this association is always bringing enthusiasm inside me. So she's secretly having his association. And because of that, she's in a very good mood. Excited. And what happens? She does her job. Vyagrapi griha karmashu. She's doing her nice situation in the house very nicely. Vyagrapi griha karmashu. Zealously she's doing it. Right? Very great enthusiasm she's doing. How? She's serving her husband very nicely. Cooking wonderful things, speaking sweet words to him. Griha karmashu, looking after the kids, cleaning up everything, singing songs. Why? He's thinking about that man. The husband doesn't know. Children don't know. All they know is my mother is so nice, so much service she's doing, so enthusiastic she is. But her focus is just thinking about that man. Tat swadayanti antar. Why? She is able to be enthusiastic and focused in this thing. Navasanga rasayanam. The object of Krishna is not like material objects. The more you start focusing on, it's difficult to focus, but once you start focusing on, will generate in you Navasanga rasayanam, newer and newer rasas. You'll start enjoying. So naturally, you'll be interested in meditating on that. Because the mind is where we should get things fixed up. The mind is the most difficult. If the mind gets attracted to Krishna, then everything is done. Because automatically you'll be thinking about Krishna, even though you're doing everything else. So this is a secret. A devotee can do many things if he's focused inside and Krishna. The art of focusing one's attention on the Supreme is called Krishna Consciousness. Proper description somewhere in the Bhagavatam. The art of focusing one's attention on the Supreme is called Krishna Consciousness. It's an art. You have to learn how to do it. It requires practice. So in Bhagavad Gita, Arurukshor Munir Yogam, Yogharudasya, is speaking about their yoga ladder. And is saying that initially it is through work that you can connect up with the Lord. Because we are on a bodily platform. So sometimes people are like real karma yogis. Like we had the description of Prithu Maharaj as a karma yogi. Janaka Maharaj is a perfect karma yogi. They're all devotees, but by working for Krishna physically, through the mind, through the senses and everything, they remain connected. So sometimes we are people who are inclined to do things, and we do things for Krishna. We go and, buy stuff in the market for offering to the Lord. We carefully manage it, make the list, buy the best things, thinking of Krishna, this is for you. I should choose the best of vegetables, the best of fruits. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And you, through the marketplace, selecting the best things for Krishna, you bring it very carefully back and you give instructions to the cook. This fruit is like this, cook like this, cook like that. Maybe I brought it for that, etc. And then you sweep the floor in front of the temple, in front of the Lord. It should be very clean when people come to take darshan. The Lord is watching. So you're in Krishna consciousness when you do those things, because you're doing it for Krishna. And you're stitching a cloth for Krishna as a dress. How much you will meditate on, how will it look on the Lord? It look like I take a picture, I put this, and you're completely absorbed in your work. It's connected with Krishna. You see? It's connected with Krishna. Right? So, yukta means to do things in connection for the sake of the Lord. This is focus. This is focus. If we remain absorbed in some physical activity for the Lord, mental activity for the Lord, intellectual activity for the Lord, say, I have to read the Bhagavad Gita, read the Bhagavad, this philosophical essence. How is it like that? Krishna is saying so. You become absorbed in thinking about it. It's Krishna's instruction. Like this, in the ladder of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, and then Bhakti Yoga, it says. The level of Jnana Yoga, after Karma, Jnana Yoga is acquiring knowledge and thinking about it. How is Krishna saying this? How does the Vedic literature say this? Why does the Bhagavatam say this? How do I understand it? And pastimes of the Lord and everything. You start becoming knowledge-oriented. You know matter from spirit. And you know what you should do and what you should not do. Cultivation of knowledge is very, very important. And then afterwards, you become less necessary. You find it's less necessary for you to be physically and this thing engaged. More necessary for you to be intellectually engaged in jnana. As time goes and as you age, you feel more, I should do this. And then you are also getting experienced, and you're also, then you actually become very meditative, which is what is Ashtanga Yoga. Krishna is saying, Dhyayato, think about me. That is his instruction. When he's saying, think about me, Manmana bhava madbhaktaha madhyaji mam namaskuru. Mana, through your mind, think of me. Sri Jagannath Baladev Shubhadra Menkini. Through your mind, absorb yourself in thinking of me. Right? So there are working stage, knowledge stage, meditative stage, and then you're achieving love of Krishna in bhakti. Okay? So this is the way we understand the yoga ladder. And you will see that you'll find yourself in some place. Doesn't matter. It's not that one is greater than the other. We can just be connected in some particular way to Krishna, then we can slowly perfect that. We can slowly perfect that stage. And then when we can approach bhakti directly from that stage. So that is what Krishna is trying to tell us. And here, don't think it is something impossible to do. It is just like the more we absorb ourselves in Krishna, the more we are able to do everything externally. Don't think you have to stop things externally in order to be able to absorb. That's a little bit in the beginning. But actually, advanced devotees want to be engaged more and more in Krishna consciousness. Look at the life of Prabhupada. At no time you will see that he's saying that I had enough. I'm going to Vrindavan, sit down, don't disturb me, I'll be Babaji, I'll chant Hare Krishna. No. He was traveling all the time and absorbed in Krishna. He was, writing his books. He was completely absorbed in Krishna. It's exactly like that. Paravyasinini nari vigrati graha karmashu. He's having an affair with Krishna and he's absorbed with Krishna and he's thinking of Krishna, and Krishna is with him all the time, and he can do anything. He can roam around the world 13 times in just 12 years, and he can keep on addressing people and doing this and that and this. He wants to be engaged and do something for Krishna out of love for him. Right? So a person is living life in an inside-out Krishna conscious life. He's never saying no to anything that's coming in front of him by Krishna's arrangement. Very interesting to know that. You see? So, Prabhupada very nicely explains this in the Bhagavad Gita lectures. Some of them are so wonderful. See? Prabhupada is saying that how we can find ourselves in Arjuna. Although Arjuna and Krishna are putting up a very wonderful act, both of them are eternally associated. Naranarayana Rishi, Prabhupada explains. Arjuna is an eternal devotee of the Lord. But he is feeling and putting on an act of, I don't know, I got bewildered. Nayotsi iti Govinda. Prabhupada calls Arjuna a rascal. It's very amazing. Krishna is telling you, you said, how is it possible that he's telling Krishna, Achyuta, Ratam Sthapayati me Achyuta, Senayor Ubhayor Madhye, Ratam Sthapayati me Achyuta, between the two warring faction, please park the chariot. And then Krishna listens to him, whips up the horses, and they come to the center. And then afterwards he looks at everything. And then he says, Nayotsi iti Govinda. I will not fight this war, Govinda. I'm not interested. So Prabhupada says, Krishna knew that he is a rascal. You asked me to park the chariot in between. You are such a great soldier, everybody knows. Then why don't you want to do your duty? You're a rascal. So Prabhupada is saying, Krishna is telling him, Asochayan anvasochastam prajnavadamscha bhashase gatasum agatasumscha nanusochanti pandita. Krishna is actually chastising Arjuna. In the second chapter beginning, also you will see that. He's scolding Arjuna. You're a rascal. Why don't you do what you're supposed to do and follow the authority? Right? So Arjuna is pretending and showing us how I can go out of focus. I can have splayed intelligence. Bahushaka hi anantasya buddhayo avyavasayinam. When I do that, I lose focus. I don't know how to actually put all my energy into the central theme of the whole thing, the parrot eye. Eye of the parrot, I'm not able to do. So this shloka shows us the importance of a human being's capability to focus and how he should focus. Because the same capability is employed by people in the material world for focusing on what they want to achieve and achieving it materially. Material world also, they focus a lot. You will see all these great executives and all these great money-making megalomaniacs. They all talk about focus and how I did what I did because of focus. So that capacity is not that you have it only for Krishna consciousness. You have it even for material things in this world. And people are using it. And you can see them using it. So what we need is focus on Krishna consciousness. Try. Yato manas chanchalam astiram tatastato niyamaitat atmanyeva vasamnayat. Krishna is saying in the 6th chapter to Arjuna, whenever and wherever the mind wanders due to its unsteady nature, bring it back under the control of the self. Repeatedly do it. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate. Right? It's actually not that it's difficult to control the mind. But once you develop Krishna consciousness, it becomes easy to control the mind. Once you develop focus, once you fall in love with Krishna, that is the main thing. Falling in love with Krishna is a business of the soul and Krishna. Then what to speak of the appurtenances of the mind and body, everything, automatically they'll align themselves. Krishna is so attractive and so absorbing that immediately everything gets aligned. Splayed intelligence is because of no absorption in Krishna. Disconnection makes people feel lonely, depressed, and doing too many things and don't know whether I'm getting the benefit. All sorts of things happen to you because of disconnection. So sadhana means trying to awaken our love for Krishna. Whereas once we awaken our love for Krishna, it becomes very easy to do everything else. We don't need to separately go around controlling the mind. Only during the sadhana stage you need to do that because you're not awakened your love for Krishna, or it is awakening slowly. So, Amagatavat, that I explained to you how from a pot water leaks out. To avoid that, we should push ourselves to absorb ourselves in Krishna consciousness. To start developing a taste for chanting, for reading the Bhagavad, for associating. there is a certain taste that is there in Krishna consciousness. We awaken that, we become addicted to that. I want it. I want to read the Bhagavatam and spend some time. I want to chant and taste the holy name. I want to do kirtan. You become attracted to these things because it is a higher taste. Rasovarjam rasopyasya paramdrishtva nivartate. It slowly replaces your lower taste. So we should push ourselves in the sadhana mode to actually develop a taste. And that way we shall be saved from the temptations of the material world, which are anyway not something very consequential and not something very permanent or important. It is just that Maya is bewildering you with its flashes and you get lost in the temporary. The more we get absorbed in the absolute, the reality, God, Krishna, his activities, the more these things will sound very small. Nava nava rasa udyatum rantumachit sushtu nishtivanamcha batanari sangame. He's saying that, Bilomangal Thakur, now that I'm enjoying nava nava rasa, newer and newer emotions because of my relationship with Krishna. When I think of a woman, when I think of sense gratification, my face contorts and I spit at the thought. Too useless. I'm enjoying something wonderful. I'm enjoying an affair with Krishna, the supreme absolute truth. What to speak about something from this world in the temporary sense? There's nothing compared to that. So the more we observe ourselves in Krishna, the more we understand that. And the more we value that, and the less we have value for this. Then we get focus. Then we are focused. So Krishna is the focus. He's the only one who can attract you and keep your attention. That's why he's called Krishna. Akarshana.
Alert from Canto, Independence Day.
Thank you.
Alert from
We're
Canto,
talking about how we are all bonded. Thank you for independence. Yeah, so think about that. Om Tat Sat, Hare Krishna, Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Any question or comments anybody has? Okay, no question, no comment. Om Tat Sat.